Hello, and welcome to the Mountain Mystic Podcast. I'm your host, Katie Hemphill, here today welcoming each and every one of you, whether you are brand new to the show, whether you've been with me for some time now. I'm so happy you're here for this super special episode, super special because this is our first official episode of the Mountain Mystic Podcast, this next version of our journey together, exploring the mysteries of this human experience as human beings on planet Earth at quite the wild, challenging, but also beautifully abundant this time in history that really asking that we go through great healing and transformation to mend the wounds that have been caused and to make the changes that are needed, are the changes, yes, in our physical reality. But more than that, maybe before that or in parallel is probably the most accurate way to say it, is to change all those parts of self that drive the behavior that we put out into the world. You know, our thoughts, our belief systems, our nervous system patterning, all those parts of self that drive us to live the lives we live and make the choices we do and create the world we live in. A world that, you know, if you've looked at what's happening out there, maybe it's happening right outside your window or maybe not right there, but in some other part of the world. Maybe you've noticed that our world is deeply hurting right now and things are getting louder and louder, and with this, these times really demand change. And it's here in this space that we really get to explore this change through the lens of our own embodiment, our own connection, physically felt, present to oneself, all those parts that we are, and going a step further in felt, present connection to this world that we all stand on, that we are all part of. So that's what's at play here. That's what is at play here. And today I am just so happy and excited to bring to you our first official full-length episode. And filling this episode today with the joy and transformative power of this time of year, the autumn season. Oh, have you guys been outside lately? I've been outside here in my home mountains in northern New Mexico, my humble mountains here, as well as a spectacular 3 to 4 day trip up in the much bigger, much more spectacular mountains of Southwest Colorado, the San Juan Mountains. Oh, I speak to it and it just all comes flooding back in. The colors, I managed to make this trip right at the peak of the aspens, changing so much golden light up there this trip. So incredible, these golden aspens forming the patchwork quilt with the dark green pine down in the forest, and then spending so much time up above the forest, up in the realm above the trees. Up in the peaks, I got quite a few summits in. I think all of the summits happened in one day, the first day, I went up and just 5 summits. Let's go. Then spent a beautiful second day taking a nice little journey down through the Aspens, a little journey that I actually get to share with you today, and to share it in a way that the intention is to bring through as a transmission so that you can enter into this energy as well. This energy that is, on the one hand, joy, this receiving of joy, this receiving of earth's delights, this ability to really receive joy when it shows up, to honor it, to let it fill us. Something that we may not think about often, but something that I've found that humanity can actually need a lot of help with is the receiving of joy, feeling good when it's time to feel good, and also this second piece that is this transformative time of autumn, this season of harvesting the fruit of our labors, while we turn things over into a season of release, of letting go, of turning inward. These days getting darker, getting colder. The light is dimming as it cues us to turn inward. Moving out of summer, this bright, shining, light-filled energy. Oh, how we long to cling to summer. If we could just live in perpetual light, this high potency, high vibration energy just filling us all the time. If only, if only. But we tune in. We tune in with nature herself. We tune in with our own bodies, which are nature herself. And as we tune in, we learn, we understand that life isn't perpetual summer, that there are gifts in summer, there are gifts in winter, and here we enter into autumn, standing between the two and being in this time of turning over, receiving the joy that is still here to be received. As we start to let go, to shed. What is it time to shed? What is it time to release? To let go of today on the Mountain Mystic Podcast. So I pressed pause there for a minute, and I'm just sitting here giggling to myself like, So if you've ever thought that there may be something more to the autumn season beyond pretty colors and pumpkin spice lattes, well, this is the episode for you, because today we get to go deep. We get to go deep. We get to have some fun, and we get to get serious. We get to get serious, and this is where we're going to head first, is get serious about our own journeys, our own lives, what we are working with, what we're looking towards in our own lives. And if you stick around with me all the way to the end, I'm going to bring us out into the bigger picture, a space that I'm always holding space for, but really, really holding space for currently as I look out on the events of the world, a practice that I'm often in myself, a practice that I'm always advocating for. And that's the beauty of this embodiment work, is here in all the spaces I hold, teach, share in. It's never about me or the world. It's never about you or the world. It's about knowing that we are all part of this same web of life, and what affects me affects you. No, not to the same degree, right? Let's be clear on that. But as we walk this embodied path that is going inward, knowing oneself ever more fully for all that we are, we learn ever more how intricately we are connected into the web of life. And that what we do in our own internal world matters because it ripples out and affects the world. And when we show up in true alignment to serve in the world around us, whether that's in our families, at our jobs, in our communities, or sending aid across the world, it matters. It matters to very real, living, breathing beings here and now. And it ripples out. And it's this path that is healing and transforming as one, right? This time of me versus you versus them has to die. It's dying. And as it dies out, right, this old way of being, this old way of seeing things, it's ugly and it's painful and it's dark, but it is dying. It is dying out. And there's this new way of being in connection that is growing. And it's this that I'm interested in. So bringing a little bit of context here today, again, we're going to focus now. So starting to move back into the space of self and your journey inward, calling upon the gifts of the autumn season to do so, which I know may land with a little bit of contrast. Like, Katie, can we really work in these very serious spaces and be playful in seasonal energies? Hell yeah, we can. It's this idea of play, of letting life be fun, let life work you in these lighter, more fun ways that can be really powerful and impactful. So let us work in these spaces because they're, friendly. They invite us in. And as we're here being fully transparent, that once we're here walking this path, it then becomes so much easier to really open up to those more serious moments. Now it's time to really work with those heavier energies, those darker energies, those darker realities. So again, just a little bit more stage setting, really bringing the full spectrum into this space, really, bringing some awareness, whatever you have consciously, but also knowing that this may go beyond your conscious mind, that, whatever is here for you today, maybe this journey really is about self. And I use the word journey, knowing that I'm about to bring you story as well as maybe more focused teaching, practice, transmission. Maybe it's more about your ability to show up for the world around you. And then maybe you have some conscious knowing of what work is really here to be done today. Maybe you don't. I've found, I've been taught, shown, continue to experience for my own self that, sometimes it serves to have the mind involved, to know, this is exactly what you're working on, focusing on. Sometimes that serves, but more often I've found that when we work in this sort of space, it actually helps to get the mind out of the way. Can you get your head out of the way? Stop trying to have it all figured out before stepping into some work that you're about to do in a deeply energetic realm. Instead, can you let yourself be worked? So with that moving us back into this autumn space, this season of harvest, There is fruit here to be picked and enjoyed. There is joy here. What joys are here for you to experience right now? Is there joy that's maybe shown up for you recently that, poked its head up? Hey, I'm here. But you pushed away for some reason? I know when I first really fell in love with the mountains and started hiking a bunch of big mountains, like big 14ers. I was living in Phoenix, but I would take these summer trips and drive all the way to Colorado. And I just knew, like full body knowing, I have got to be here. I have got to be here as often as possible because there is something here for me that just fills me in a way that nothing else does. And I would show up and I'd start to let that joy sink in. But I had all these stories about how I had this important life. I was living in Phoenix and I had important work to do. I was very serious about kind of the traditional, I'd found my partner and we were supposed to make money and, get fancier and fancier places to live. And I had that whole linear structure set up in my head. So I'd let myself just for short times get to Colorado and soak in this great joy that sings so strongly to me. Then I'd make myself go back to the story that I thought was so important. I have to be working this corporate job and it only gives me a few vacation days, so I can't actually soak in the joy that's here to be received. And the whole process of letting that story go, moving back to the Rocky Mountains and now being in a space of being able to experience this joy, let it fill me up until I am overflowing. Then take this overflowing joy and be ready to come back home to my humble little mountain town in Los Alamos, and to let that joy that is still full within me pour back out into the work that I do now that is so far removed from corporate engineering. So letting that ping you however it will, maybe taking a moment to reflect, bringing some conscious awareness to those parts of your life, maybe recent experiences. Where has joy offered itself and you only let so much in, but decide, because you have this whole story, I'm only going to let this much in. And then I'm going to, get back to the more serious nature of things, the more important things. Maybe there's times in your life where you really discredit the gift, the power, the importance of joy, of letting yourself be filled. We have to let ourselves be filled because our world cannot sustain itself being covered by a whole bunch of empty humans that don't get to experience joy and wonder for themselves, but are just acting based off of programming, based off of programmed thoughts and beliefs. This is what I'm supposed to be doing. I don't have the time to be filled with the light, the brilliance, the beauty of this world. We have to let ourselves be filled, and as I keep speaking to this, maybe taking a moment to kind of drop out of your head, drop out of the world of thoughts and, breathe down into your body, become present in your body. This is really the heart of the practice I teach. So if you don't know how to do that, please reach out. Let me know. I'll guide you. This is the work that I get to bring to the world now, but here now, to whatever degree you're able, dropping down out of your head, calling upon your breath to really bring yourself into your body. Maybe feel your feet on the floor, your seat in the chair. And as I speak these words of joy and letting these joyful moments, these light-filled, beautiful, brilliant moments fill you, can you feel in your body anywhere where there's resistance, where you block this flow? Maybe here we envision, we feel into this light just pouring in through our heads, through our eyes. Or maybe you bring to mind a golden aspen forest. The cool, clear crystal creeks are flowing. Maybe you breathe in the aroma. Really let this fill your crown. And let it fill you. Let it drop down into your whole body, your whole being. Let it fill you up. And notice as you're in this practice, where do you block it? Do you only allow it in your head? Oh, but once it tries to drop down by your throat, your heart just closes off and blocks it. Or maybe you allow it to start to fill your heart, but only just a little bit. Only a little bit can get into your heart. But then you seal it off and you're done. Maybe it gets all the way through to your heart and wants to drop down further, but once it gets to your solar plexus, it's asking to go all the way down to your womb, but there's something there that blocks it. Just a little practice. Powerful practice. Take it with you. Walk through your life with it. Notice when joy arises. Maybe it's a single tree shining her colors. Maybe it's a child laughing, a friend sharing a story. All these moments in life, there's so many of them. Moments that show up. Here, be filled with the beauty, the brilliance of life. Bring awareness to it. Let yourself be filled and hold awareness. Where do you cut off that flow? Try it out. Take it with you in life. Let me know how it goes, what shows up. What blocks do you notice? Where do you feel these blocks in your body? Share them with me. I'd love to hear it. So that's joy. That's joy. Can we allow ourselves to be filled with joy? Because I want more humans on this planet being full. Because when we're full, not only are we experiencing the gifts that are here to be experienced, but now we have true love-filled, light-filled light to shine back out on the world. And now our energies and words and actions aren't just running off of some programming of what we're supposed to be doing, but it comes from this natural, organic flow of life. Let it flow in, let it flow right back out. This is how we change the world, guys. Who would have thought? Let yourself be filled by the joy of a changing aspen leaf. Let yourself be filled as you walk through the forest and crunch down on that layer of aspen leaves being formed beneath your feet. Hear that crunch. Let it reverberate through your whole being. Let it fill you. That's the power of joy. Let it fill you. And as it fills you, be in the practice, knowing that it is a lifelong practice of having that awareness of where you block it. Where do you block that flow of light? And with this awareness, moving into the next piece of our podcast, the next piece of this autumn season, this next big energy that we get to seep in, that's letting go, release, dissolving, the dissolution of that which we are holding, that which lives within our own patterning, our thoughts, our beliefs, energies that are buried deep in our cells, deep down in our bones, deep in our hearts, in our guts, all those places where we have these blocks to this flow of life, that is here. It's here, and it's so willing to fill us up. And in that filling of our own selves, move through us and out into the world as more light. Where do we block this flow with old patterns, old beliefs that have been taught to us, have been imprinted on us for whatever reason? And maybe at a time there were really good reasons for it. Maybe not, maybe really bad, really dark reasons for it. But not getting into that part, just knowing, right? Holding space for this fact that there are parts of self within, parts of self that live in the expression of our lives, whether or not they served at one moment in time, that here and now, given where we're at this point in our lives, are just no longer serving. And as they're no longer serving, what they're doing are becoming a weight, a burden, creating crunchiness in our lives, creating resistance to the path that is unfolding. And there's this very simple ask, as you move forward into this next phase of life, whether it's this afternoon or tomorrow or the next week, the next month, the next year, whatever you want to quantify as this next phase of life, as you take these steps through it, regardless of what's showing up, would you rather be filled with more light? Or would you rather be weighed down, being held in a crunchier, more resistant environment? So a pretty simple question with a pretty clear answer, right? And, maybe there's a part of yourself that really likes a challenge. So you're like, oh, bring on the crunch. Bring on the resistance. Let me show how I can push through it. I hear that. I run up mountains for fun. So, I'm all about, bringing in the challenge to life. But here's the fact, life is going to show up as a series of challenges, right? That's just life. That's what we're here doing. We're moving through one challenge after the next. And as we show up for each challenge that we choose or that shows up unannounced, uninvited, would you rather be facing that with a clear head, really grounded, rooted, present, centered? Or would you be wanting to face it, kind of carrying just all this excess crap that clouds your thoughts and weighs you down and prevents you from showing up for that which is presenting itself, preventing you from showing up to that with the fullness of who you are and the power that you can bring. So when I launched, Upward Slopes back in 2020, this was really the premise of what I was holding space for, was like, life is going to continue to life us. We are going to show up continuously for challenges, and they show up in all different forms. And again, sometimes we choose them, sometimes we don't. The question is, how can we show up for each challenge, each experience that presents itself with more skill, with more clarity, with more discernment, with more power to move through it in a way that truly serves our own selves, that serves the world we're part of, so that when we come out the other side, we were able to give it our all. We've been changed, transformed, healed, maybe stronger, maybe wiser, maybe. And because of the fact that we did move through this challenge, whatever it was, now the world itself is a little bit different. The world itself is a little bit brighter. There is a little bit less suffering, less patterning that brings perpetual suffering in this world, because we were able to show up fully for it. So this is why I just love releasing practices, releasing rituals that I do regularly, why I have a sort of consistent rhythmic practice of calling upon this release, this letting go. What am I holding? What is within me? What is expressing itself in my life that serves to let go? So, that invitation to make a regular practice out of this. And also, there's this practice of being in tune with the times of year where we may get a hit, a cue from nature herself, what's going on in the ecosystems that we are part of. Oh, the ecosystem that I'm part of, nature herself right now is going through one big, potent release. And so maybe it just serves listening in and responding by doing the same. And that's how autumn shows up for me. Autumn shows up for me as this time of year where, yes, I am in a pretty consistent practice, this point of, going inward, releasing, letting go. Okay, what's not serving? Let go of that, move on. And autumn shows up and it's like, okay, now this is big energy. And sitting in this big energy, turning the lens inward, sitting in this big, potent energy of release. Now what is here to be let go of? Can you feel that? Can you feel the difference? Maybe not. We're not always exactly in sync with nature, so maybe it's not true for you, and honoring that if that's true. But for most of us, because most of us are fundamentally in sync with nature, even if we don't believe it consciously, we are. No matter how many stories we hold and how deep those stories are rooted in belief systems that show up as thought patterns, that tell us that we are separate from nature. The truth, the reality is that we are not. That we are, to an enormous degree, always in sync with nature. And we can pretend otherwise, or we can bring conscious awareness to the rhythm of nature. Nature right now, where I am in the world, is in autumn. This big, big time of release. And I can tell you, my body is telling me the exact same thing today. Big, big release energy. And as I sit with it, as I sit with that, so what does this mean? What is here? I can sit with it and I can be present to all the changes that are happening in my life. And I can sit with, are there any places where I'm really being resistant to that change that just aren't serving? Is there any weight that I'm carrying that is just showing up as extra energy that's just draining? It's not serving. It's not moving me forward. Where's the resistance? Where's the weight? Where's that crunchiness? And being present to this release energy, can I just let go? Can I just let it go? And that's the beautiful part of this practice, is it can be so simple. Bringing awareness to it and choosing, I'm going to let this go. It's now in the past. I'm not bringing it with me forward. So I'm going to bring us into a practice of this just like I did with joy. But this practice is going to be a little bit different. Full disclosure, I didn't plan on going into that joy practice that we did earlier, but I'm glad we did, because now we get to call upon that, bring that into this practice that I did fully plan on bringing to you. I'm excited to bring to you. It's a practice that I'm going to bring through to you as a little bit of a journey, and know that this journey is a very physical, real journey that I took just a few days ago when I was very present physically in the San Juan Mountains in Southwest Colorado. These mountains that are so sacred to me, that I return to year after year after year. I fell in love with them in 2016 when I got invited to go on a 100-mile backpacking trip through the Weminuche Wilderness in the San Juans, and just fell in love as they broke me open and just poured life through me in a way I'd never experienced before, and it changed me. And in that changing of me, I am in regular practice of returning to these mountains, and with this really honoring, the sacredness in these mountains. And so when I show up here, it's a space to play, right? It's a space for me to, as we've talked about today, choose the challenges I invoke in my life. I showed up last week, and there's a series of 5 peaks in this one area. And the first time I went up there, I summited 1. And the second time I went up there, I summited 3. And I went up there this time, and I was like, okay, I'm going to do all 5 in one push. Let's go. So there's this play as we invoke the challenges in this life that for whatever reason show up. They're like, hey, you want to do this? I'm like, yeah, let's go for it. And there's a joy, and there's a transformation, and there's a being worked by life as we are fully immersed in life in that sort of way. But on the second day, so that was the first day, on the second day, I thought I was going to go on another big adventure, but I showed up for the day, and I was actually really tired. I felt really weighed down. That crunchy inside. It's kind of gunky, like, oh, there's something here. There's actually a lot here. And, being conscious to some of what it was, but knowing that there was just a whole lot in me that I didn't even have to be conscious to, just was showing up in a way that, is maybe showing up so that it could be released. And that's often how things happen in the world of embodiment, is things show up, whether it's pain or discomfort in your body. Maybe it's, I often really just experience this kind of like crunchy, gunky, like weighed down, lethargic energy. And it's something showing up that shows up as an invitation to be released. And how do we release it? We don't release it by pushing it away, by going, ew, I don't want you, get away. That energy. But how we actually release it is by becoming present to it, not running away from those unwanted, unpleasant feelings inside, but by bringing attention, awareness to them. Doing so in a way where we don't have to get caught up in them. We don't have to make a whole story about them. Again, maybe things show up and it's like, I know why you're here. I know exactly what you are. Maybe it's something in your life that you've been avoiding. Maybe it's a very real problem in your body that you've been avoiding and it's showing up again. Maybe it's a pattern in your life or a part of your life that you're really resistant to changing and it's showing up again, and you can be like, oh, I'm ready to release this. I'm just going to, push this away. But the way this works, as I've experienced, is becoming present to it. Okay, this part of my life, this pattern, this feeling in my body is showing up again. Now there's an opportunity to become present to it. And in becoming present to it, how does it change? Becoming present to it, how does it shift? Maybe in that change, that transformation, that shifting, maybe there is space here for it to simply fall away. So I showed up to the trailhead on day 2 of my trip, and I had planned, this whole long run way out into the wilderness, and showing up just feeling really lethargic, weighed down, gunky. Like, I'm not getting a 20-mile day out of today. Like, that's just not, I could make it happen. I know how to push through, but that's not what the day is asking for. But becoming present to what the day is asking for, stepping into the reality that I find myself in this moment, is a trailhead heading down, dropping down off a mountain pass where my car is parked, dropping down through an aspen forest at its peak. Just every single aspen, like at its peak of colors, full expression. Every single aspen out there, just peak of colors. For some aspens, that's pure gold. For other aspens, that's that rich, rich red that seeps into. There's the oranges. Just this full display of color right at its peak, woven in with a just rich green pine forest, all nestled up at the base of these peaks, these giant peaks that just sing this ancient song and just hold this whole environment with just this powerful, powerful energy that I will spend my life trying to put words to. So I start to move. I start to move physically, taking steps down. So unlike the day before, this bright, exciting, challenge-filled day, ascending up into the peaks, this day the journey is one of descent. Taking those steps, moving, sometimes running, sometimes jogging, really just moving with ease down through this changing forest and just letting myself be filled. Remember how we've talked about how we allow ourselves to be filled, to let the color of the aspens, the aroma of the aspens, the aroma of fall, of a bright, blue, sunny, clear, crisp autumn day in the high mountains. Just letting it all fill me, continuing to take these steps. It's 2,000 feet dropping down off this mountain pass. It's winding my way, switchbacking back and forth through the forest. And as I'm moving down through the forest, just soaking in as much of the light of day as I possibly can. There they become these moments. There's this one moment where I'm walking through these meadows. There's these meadows that open up, and the light from the sun filters through with such a potency. And I allow the sunlight to fill me up, to warm my bones on this cool autumn morning. I allow this time to look around, to see the peaks above me, to see all the trees around me. Then there's this moment where I come up on this forest, and this forest, you guys, it's old and it's thick and it's densely populated with pine, this dark green pine. And as you get a little bit closer to it, it starts to pull you in and it starts to whisper to you. Like there's something here. There's something here in this forest. This forest is so alive with something. You don't quite know what it is, but you take these steps and you're getting closer to this wall of trees, and then you come upon an opening and the trail starts to move you through these trees, and the energy just changes because now you're in this forest that just holds so much. You bring your gaze down to the earth itself, and the earth itself is covered in a thick layer of moss. And the earth itself is changing colors, becoming a little lighter. There's more yellow, there's more orange, there's more brown. It's like the earth itself, the floor of the forest is speaking. It's so alive with something. But you keep moving through this forest. And then it's the trees themselves around you, rising up above you, this thick, densely populated, dark green pine forest. There's something here held within these trees that's whispering to you, that's showing you there's something here alive in you, alive in this forest. We're still moving, right? We're still taking steps. We're moving through this forest, and as you're moving through this forest, you start to notice more aspen leaves. And now where there was just thick, densely populated pine, the aspens are showing up again. These are big, big aspens. They rise up. These thick trunks rising up so tall so that you're craning your neck to see the golden colors shining through the dense green up above. Meanwhile, you're taking these steps and you're hearing the crunch of the leaves, and that brings your gaze back down to the trail, and you see them starting to pile up beneath your feet. And you keep walking, keep moving through this forest. You're breathing, and your feet are so grounded into the earth. You're just so present to all the changing colors, the rich, rich life that is here, that is held in these thick, dense pine, that is showing up as this bright display of colors in these aspens that are now showing up more and more. So that as you keep taking these steps, you find yourself that the forest itself has now completely changed, and the pine is thinning as the aspens are showing up in full force. And you experience this as the leaves that have now accumulated at your feet, just this thick layer of golden leaves forming the trail beneath your feet. And looking up, you just see this bright, bright wall of golds, of yellow, dotted with some orange, some red. You're moving through this forest, feet connected with each step you take, breath connected, inhaling, exhaling, so connected to this forest with each breath you take. So connected to this forest with each breath you take. Just taking those breaths, really becoming present to your body. Letting that breath bring you into your body. What's here? What is here in your body? What sensations, what emotions? As you continue to walk through this bright aspen forest, you're connected into your body. You're connected into the forest around you. And what's here with each breath you take, is there more joy, more light, more bliss to drink in? Letting those colors, those golden colors of the aspens fill you. Seep in to your heart, your lungs, your bones. Can you let that joy, that light sink all the way down into your bones? So you keep taking each step, grounding each foot all the way down into the earth beneath your feet. So you keep taking steps, you keep breathing. What else is here? What else is here? Maybe you notice that resistance to letting the joy in. Maybe you notice a veil or a blanket, something heavy that's sort of covering you, veiling your ability to really be present to this joy, this light. Maybe there's a crunchiness in you. Maybe some fiery, swirling, chaotic thoughts. What's here? What's here? As you keep walking through the forest, we keep descending down this trail through the forest. Breathing with the forest, breathing with our own selves, our internal realm. The very physical, the very energetic nature of our own bodies. Continuing to take these steps. There's a slowing here. There's a slowing. And in that slowing, there's a spaciousness of bringing some awareness. What do you do in the slowing? Does it bring you a feeling of more spaciousness, more peace? Now you're more present to what's within. Or maybe it brings some more resistance. Are there thoughts? Are there energies rising up as I start to slow and bring more space? And my favorite pattern to work with is how resistant we are to slowing down. We've been taught that we always have to be moving with force, with speed, with vigor. And we hold so many patterns, so much resistance to slowing down. So checking in with self, there's a fair chance that there is some crunchy energy here as this journey invites you to slow down. But we don't always have to be in the slowness. Maybe we now catch wind of some of that vigor, some of that excitement, and it starts to move us, right? So now we're moving with a little bit more speed, a little bit more lightness in our steps. Maybe, and this is what's coming to my mind's eye right now, is there's almost this like dancing, like this skipping through the forest. Some of that playful light energy coming in again as we're still moving through this forest. We're still moving through this forest, getting to experience this full experience that is a walk through the forest. This is where we get to be present to all of it. This is where we get to judge none of it. There are no constraints here. This is the forest. It is wide open, an expanse of possibility for that which may arise, that which may present itself as opportunity to experience. That's what we invoke when we enter the forest. This great expanse, this great playground. We're here to play. We're here to be curious. We're here to experience that which is showing up. Not because we want it to, not because we're going to make it happen, not because someone else told us it was a good idea, so we're going to try to get there too. No, this is the forest. This is where we get to take steps along the path that unveils itself. Be present to what's here, what's here. So as we're here now, moving through this forest, we notice that we're starting to get quite deep down in this descent, right? We've been moving for some time now. We've taken a whole lot of steps through this forest. We've had a good little journey through this forest. And now as we pick up our gaze, we're starting to notice that, wow, we have covered a lot of ground. We've made quite the journey on this descent down through the forest. We've been present to the leaves as they're changing, shining their bright colors. We've been present to these leaves as they've fallen away from the aspen, falling, swirling down all around us, falling down all the way down to the earth, gently falling down onto the earth, laying down on the earth, forming this gentle, beautiful layer of leaves, each leaf shining its unique colors down on the earth. And we're still taking these steps, now our footsteps, crossing each step along this layer of leaves. We hear the crunch of the leaves. We feel that solid, rooted connection with each step, rooting down into the ground. We're taking these last steps and we're realizing now that these are the last steps of this journey down, this descent down through this forest. And now this, the grade of the trail is starting to smoothen out. We're noticing that it's becoming flat. We've finished our descent through the forest. Now we're here at the bottom. We're here all the way down at the bottom of this forest. Feet still rooting down onto the trail with each step, down onto the earth. As we're taking these steps here all the way down at the bottom, we start to lift our gaze, just noticing what's here. What is here now that we've completed this journey all the way down through the forest? Lifting your gaze, what's here? What's around you? What's surrounding you? I can share that on my journey through the forest. What welcomed me at the bottom, this view now looking way up at these peaks just towering above me, surrounding me, peaks on all sides, towering way up above me. I'm surrounded. I am so held by these bright, shining peaks way up above me. And I am just enwrapped, enveloped, tucked into this forest, this most beautiful, rich, alive forest. And I'm also showing up to the great Animus River. This river is flowing through the forest in my journey, my very real journey. What greeted me at the bottom, the great Animus River. Her clear, cold, turquoise waters flowing through. Me on my journey, I took off my shoes and stood in the Animus River. And I let go of these leaves that I'd been carrying. I'd been picking them up as I'd been moving down through the forest. I'd been picking up a leaf here or there. And I was holding on to these golden aspen leaves, and each one was a little bit different. Some had green, some had red, some had orange, some were just pure yellow. So I'm holding these leaves in my hand and I have my feet down in the icy, clear, turquoise waters of the Animas River. And it's here that I let these leaves go. I let them go. I let the great Animus herself take these leaves. Just one last moment of big release. Dear great Animus River, take this from me. Take this from me, that which I'm holding that no longer serves my journey, my path forward. Take this from me. I know it no longer serves and is just weight. It's just a veil, just a burden that is going to cloud my judgment, that is going to cloud my discernment, that is going to cloud my ability to show up with the power that I want in this life. Dear Animus, take this from me. Take this from me. Then when I was ready, which came pretty quickly because at this point there was a great deal of pain in my feet as the shock of this icy water just consumed me. I got out of the river and I knew that the release was complete. It's time to declare that this is complete. What is here to let go, I've let it go. It is gone. The river, the trees, the forest, the earth has taken it away. It is gone. It is done. It is done. Taking a few breaths here. Taking a few breaths here, rooting down onto new soil. My bare feet now rooting down onto new soil. Casting my gaze at the forest around me, casting my gaze at the peaks high up above me, and casting my gaze at the trail, ascending all the way back up through the forest, and knowing that now what awaits me is one beautiful ascension journey. Yes, now it's time to dry my feet and put on my shoes and drink some water and have a nice little snack. Sitting here doing this all with one great big heart full of gratitude for the Animas River, for the forest around me, for the peaks above me, for the earth below me, for all that is here that I don't even know. You know, there's always so much here that we're not even conscious to, but it's here. It's supporting, it's nourishing, it's serving in some way. Preparing myself now for this next ascension journey. I'm ready now to head back up through the forest. Starting to take those steps back up through the forest. What awaits you now on this next ascension journey? Oh, How are you guys feeling? That was fun. No, creating space for that journey. I knew where we were headed, which hasn't necessarily been the case here on the podcast or in a lot of these sort of embodiment practices, these very earthy energy sort of practices that I've been bringing into the world, in circles, particularly with other women, but with other humans, as I've been facilitating and guiding journeys like this. Usually I don't really have any idea of where we're going. But this one I did. This time I knew, and I knew it when I was on the journey myself, that this is one that was here for me to experience on my own. And it was one for me to bring through here to you all and to bring it here on the podcast, but also to bring it through in several different forms. So just know that there are other ways to step into this journey. I took a lot of footage on that trail. I even recorded I think 15-minute video of me speaking, when I was present in that energy, present in that forest. I recorded a video while I was out there. So there's some other ways to step into this journey via video. And I'm going to link those in the show notes as I record this. I'm still putting that together. So if it's available, I will link it directly in the show notes. If it's not yet available, the newsletter is the best place to be to make sure that you get it directly in your inbox. Now, every time I release something new, we're taking some time here to come out of this journey. I'm bringing these words because I want to let you know what's up. I also want to give us some time to kind of come out of this journey. That may have been really powerful for you. It may have been really light and fun. When we step into spaces like that, sometimes we're really conscious to how powerful it is. And sometimes we're not conscious to how powerful it is. So I say that maybe you were like, oh yeah, I didn't really go in very deep into anything. It was just light and playful. But it could have just been the deepest energetic release of your life. So tomorrow, if you wake up and you're like, whoa, what's happened to me? It could have been this. So, not a warning, but something to bring awareness to. That when we work in these energies, it can be light, it can be playful. It can seem just like a story. Oh yeah, I'm just listening to one of Katie's stories. They're here to really shift things, to shift energies, and in doing so, to really create shift, change, transformation in your being, in your body, in your life, in all the aspects of you and the expression of you in the world. That's what we're playing with here. So if you didn't know that yet, here you do. Now you do. Holding it all in so much light. That's everything we do here. I don't often know exactly what it is we're doing or where it is we're going, but what I am always holding with everything I have is that what we do here is filled with light, the light of transformation, of shifting, changing, being moved, being filled with that which serves, that which truly serves. And if it truly serves, it serves you in your wholeness, even though in a moment it may not feel like it. If you wake up tomorrow and there's some sort of like extra kind of crunchiness, like something's arising, like something showed up because you maybe unsettled it, you brought through an invitation to let it show up, and now it's showing up, but it's showing up because it's here to be released. And sometimes that doesn't feel joyful, doesn't feel full of bliss, full of peace. Sometimes it's crunchy, but it's showing up for a reason. It's showing up so that it can be released, so that you can move forward in your life with more light, being filled with more joy, more bliss, more peace, more clarity, more skill. All those things that we're calling in here. All those things that we're calling in here so that we can move forward on our paths, ourselves being changed, transformed, healed, filled with more light, more love, so that we can let that light shine right back out into the world, to ripple out into the world and do the very same thing to the fabric of reality itself. This is how we change the world. As I've experienced it, as I've come to know it, understand it, as I witness in myself, as I witness in others, that's the ground I stand on, and that's the ground I speak from. Okay. I think we're ready to start closing out today. There's been a lot here. There's been a lot here in episode 1 of the Mountain Mystic podcast. I'm just so overjoyed that this is where we got to go. You might hear it in my voice, but those tears arising just as the emotion starts to break me open, that I am so honored that this is where my wild path through the forest has taken me. Never would have guessed it. Never would have dreamt up this path for me to take me where I thought I was going. But here we are. And as we take these next steps together in community, as a collective, honoring my journey and my part in it, honoring your journey and your part in it, honoring the ground we stand on here. It's going to be different ground than the ground we stood on when you pressed start play at the beginning of this podcast episode. It's going to be different ground, and that ground is going to continue to shift and change as you yourself are transformed. Just, sharing some words. And I put this in the intro to this season. So if you haven't listened to that 20-minute intro to the Mountain Mystic and want some bigger context for what we're doing here, what are we doing here? What is this? You may have had no idea what you were getting yourself into today, but you kept listening for some reason, and now you're here and you're like, whoa, what was this? I've never experienced anything like this. This is the realm of what I call New Earth priestessing. It's working with the earth herself, bringing her through in story, in transmission, in myth, in poetry, in words, through my voice, basically in whatever way she's asking to come through me so that you can receive in a way that you are ready to receive, in a way that you are ready to be healed, changed, transformed, be filled with joy, be filled with light, there's a lot here. And if you've been with me for some time, you've witnessed me on my own journey to understanding what this world is. And by this world, I mean this body of work, this realm I've found myself in. And if you've been with me for years, my journey started out, the world of science and engineering, completely disconnected, really fully focused in a way that I was closed off to all the ways that we can open up to that which is here to shift, to change, to transform. And it's been a journey of my own self, being open and willing to be in this space so that I myself can be shifted, changed, transformed. It's been a whole other journey, being willing to say yes to bring it through. Here we are, episode 1 of the Mountain Mystic podcast, and it's coming through in this beautiful way it did today. And just really honoring it as I'm very excited for where it brings us in episode 2, and 3 and 4 and 5 and onward from there. So if you are on board, make sure you are subscribed. If you are so on board as you would like to leave a review, share with a friend. All right, as I said in the podcast, there are some few other ways that I'm bringing through this particular journey, along with God, I get so full of creativity when autumn shows up. It's my time to just go for it. So there's so much here. So if you want to deepen into autumn energy, play more in this space, there's so much. Check it out in the show notes. Make sure you're subscribed to the Upward Slopes newsletter so that you get all those offerings. If you're not following me on Instagram, I've got 2 accounts at this point. My personal one where I'm really showing more my journey, more showing up as the Mountain Mystic. I have the We Are the Forest space where really focusing on that collective healing aspect. So much going on in the space. Make sure you're connected in the spaces you want to be connected. All right. With that, signing off for today. Maybe go drink some water. Do whatever you need to really ground yourself in after today's work we just did. Take care of yourself. Listen to your body. Give yourself what you need. All right. Big, big love to you all.